Now here with me is Dr. Aaron Adams from the Bonefish Tarpon Trust. Now Aaron, you were here last year during the Permit Show, and we want to talk a little bit about some of the recaptures, but more importantly, we do want to talk about what you guys are doing with bonefish too.
Sure. First on Costa's Project Permit, we've tagged about over 1,000 permits so far in Florida. We've had 14 recaptures. The most interesting one was recently a fish that was tagged by Carl Ball down in Biscayne, was caught by Nick Way up in Fort Worth about a year later. So pretty good travel for a fish, about 17 pounds.
You think that fish was going up there to spawn?
That's our guess. It was caught on a wreck offshore, so we think it was up there to spawn from Biscayne Bay.
All right, well, let's take a look at this, some of the great, kingfish, sailfish mounts, but more importantly, tell us about bonefish and what you guys are doing with that.
Well, we're trying to figure out what's going on with bonefish in the Keys. We're doing a lot of work in the Bahamas, for example, because there's a lot of bonefish. Figuring out things like where they spawn. This is a school of about 15,000 bonefish getting ready to spawn in the Bahamas. We know that they go offshore at night on the full and new moons, and they're in thousands of feet of water when they spawn. They go down a couple hundred feet to spawn. So we're using that information now to come back to the Keys and figure out where in the Keys they might be spawning. Places that have a steep drop-off, not too far from shore. We're guessing it's probably in the lower Keys, but we'll find out. And one of the concerns is that when they do spawn, the eggs that hatch, the larvae float around for about 50 days.
Oh,
so those bonefish that are in the Keys could be coming from Keys spawning bonefish. They could be coming from a place like Cuba,
right.
Where we've had reports of a lot of netting of some of the bonefish. So if a place like Cuba or elsewhere are netting their spawning bonefish, we're not going to get juveniles in the future.
Right.
So one of the other things we're looking for in the Keys is where are the juvenile bonefish? When I say juveniles, I mean 3 inches, 4 inches, maybe 6 inches. And figuring out where they are is really important. But another thing that people don't understand about bonefish is even though they're in a kind of a small area when you go to catch them, they do migrate pretty long distances to spawn. In the Keys, we've tracked them going 140 miles round trip. But it does look like those spawning migrations are all in shallow water until they get to that deep edge.
So then we're using the seine net to go in the real shallows and look for really small bonefish.
Really small. After those larvae come in, they turn into miniature bonefish, and we got to figure out where those juvenile places are to make sure we have a fishery for the future.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule
Thanks
to come and really educate us about what you guys are doing in Bonefish Tarpon Trust. If people want to know more about what you're doing, where do they go?
They go to btt.org, and they can find all kinds of information. They can mail us, they can call us, email us or call us, let us know where they're seeing small bonefish or bonefish that might be spawning.
Good stuff.